The clock counts down the seconds.
It sounds great.
Do you know how many Jonathan Larsons there are? One.
The flame gets closer and closer and closer until all at once everything explodes.
Hello everybody, welcome to the next edition of Contender Reviews, an offshoot of the Gone with the Wind podcast. I'm your host Manning, where we go about and dissect, discuss, and ultimately review an Oscar contender, a hopeful, if you will. We have one in particular, as you heard prior. This is Tick, Tick, Boom, the directorial debut by Lin Manuel Miranda. We all know him and love him as the Hamilton guy. He will never not be known as the Hamilton guy. I'm sorry. There is no other way. People don't call him the Moana guy. He's the Hamilton guy. He's not in the Heights guy. He is the Hamilton guy. And Dan is also here. Malcolm should be joining us relatively soon. Dan, where were you? What was the?
I'm the Moana guy. No, I'm not. I know. I'm joking about that. Excuse me, though. I'm a little bit under the weather, so But no, I freaking love the songs. You're welcome. I mean, I love the songs in Moana.
They are good.
I'm not as big on Hamilton, but the guy is one of the most talented people in the entire face of the planet.
Absolutely.
I will say that. The guy is one of the most talented people on the face of the planet. What he's been able to do in the last 10 or so years in his career is amazing. I love Moana, not so much Encanto, but I love In the Heights, not so much Hamilton. So there you go.
Oh wow, that's my first thoughts I heard about your feelings on Encanto, but we'll save that for another day. I'm curious now. But yeah, no, this is Tick Tick Boom, his directorial debut, starring Alexandra Shipp, Vanessa Hudgens, Robin DeJesus, I believe, or is it Jesus? You're right. Yes, you're right. I saw. I'm looking at it right now. My first thought was like, oh yeah, Jesus. Wait, no, that's not right. Nope. Robin DeJesus. And then of course, as the leading man playing Jonathan Larson. Jonathan Larson? It is Jonathan Larson.
Jonathan Larson,
correct?
That's it.
I saw it this morning. I should know this by heart. But Andrew Garfield and what could be his Academy Award nominated turn. I won't jinx it. We'll talk about that second one, of course. Second one, Hacksaw Ridge, is the original one. But we'll talk about that in a second. We talk about the Oscar prospects later. I wanted to talk about Tick Tick Boom for a bit, which came out just like, the name implies, Tick Tick Boom. Literally, I felt like we just kind of came out of nowhere and rushed onto the scene and kind of exploded. Like we knew it was going to open AFI Fest, but it opened AFI Fest with rapturous critical acclaim. It has a current high score on Metacritic. Let me look at the Rotten Tomato score at this moment. I should have had this up, but I'm rushing around for the past few days, and we're trying to tighten this in, get this in before we do our main show in literally less than an hour. So it's going to be a jam-packed agenda is what we got going on today. But Tick Tick Boom right now is sits at a good 88% on Rotten Tomatoes, 74% on Metacritic. So that in of itself is still a relatively good, that's a good number of critics that definitely adore it. And I've heard nothing but mostly praise, if not muted, enthusiasm, where it's been like, hey, I like it. People either love it or they like it. But I don't know what your opinion is, Dan, on this. What is your opinion on Tick Tick Boom as a whole?
Well, I'll tell you, we've discussed this on some of the earlier Gone with the Winds. I have stated this before. This is the year of the musical. We've already gotten 3 musicals. Now this is the 4th musical, and we still got a 5th musical still to come. That's not including animated films that sing. And I'll tell you what, there is a mix of different styles of filmmaking within this one movie. And obviously the musical aspect of it, right?
Yes.
But then you have the time lapse storyline, and then you have the archival footage stuff that's in here, and it's all put into this about $1.45, $1.50, minute movie, but it creates a very nice through line where you get to see the beginning of this man's life, but also a framing sequence while he's performing Tick Tick Boom for
That
an
was a
audience.
really cool. That was really cool. If I just might interject, that was a really cool framing device they used to kind of interweave his stories along with the actual Tick Tick Boom musical. But go ahead.
Yeah, and that stuff intermixed with the archival footage and the stuff in the past really worked well for me. But as of other musicals this year, the songs in some of the other ones didn't work. I like the songs in The Heights, not so much in Dear Evan Hansen, and our French film was a little bit. My God, it was like one song I liked in that, but they're catchy. The songs are catchy in this.
Yeah, they are.
You find yourself singing along to the songs. Like, what's going on here? These songs are good, and that owes not only to Garfield, but really Lin Manuel Miranda, who's been able to perfect this kind of speaking, singing type of thing within The Heights, Hamilton, and so forth, where it sounds like they're speaking, but they're singing. Even in Moana, the songs are being spoken in a way, but sung in a way. And it kind of really was, I thought, beautiful and very entertaining. The various different characters that were singing, but mostly Jonathan Larson. I mean, I really enjoyed this movie, but I don't think this movie would have been half as good without Andrew Garfield. He's now in the mix for Best Actor. I didn't have him in my 5, but after seeing Tick Tick Boom, he is in my 5. He's just amazing. And I will tell you this, a little bit behind the scenes, I have a think piece about Andrew Garfield in the works. And I'm currently in the middle of writing a think piece about Andrew Garfield's career and 2021 as a whole for him. What an amazing year this guy's had.
No, I agree. This year, I mean, usually he is one of the unsung heroes of most years that he does, because I don't think there's been, well, scratch that. I'm sure there's been some bad performances from him, but he's the type of person who gives his all. He's not afraid to go out of his box and do something very different. This movie I found to be utterly fascinating because I don't know anything about Jonathan Larson other than he did Rent. Right. And all my musical theater friends will cringe when I say that I don't really care for Rent. Personally, I never really got into the music, never really got, I guess, like, other than like what Tango Maria and not 524,000, whatever, the 600 minutes, the classics. But
I love, those are great songs.
Yeah. I just never really gravitated toward that. So I was hesitant to feel like how I would feel regarding Jonathan Larson as the artist. But it definitely, you don't have to know. One thing I noticed is that it was very accessible. There was a lot of fun little tidbits from what people in theater were telling me. Like, hey, look at this famous person over here. This is a callback to something he did here, or a callback to the Rent musical here. Cool. That's awesome. But at the same time, it was accessible to people who don't really know much about Jonathan Larson because it doesn't deal with him writing Rent. This is him writing a musical that never even existed. Suburbia, or no, not Suburbia.
Supernova or Super
something along those lines. I need to double check
Supernova,
this.
I think it was, or something like that.
No, it was something else. It was Superbia, something. Yeah, I think that's right. It's not Suburbicon. That's a movie.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about that.
No, we don't talk about that. Anyway, the musical theater kid in me, because I did musical theater in high school, was just giddy with how the musical, because all these songs, these were written by, I'm pretty sure these were all written by Jonathan Larson himself when this is something he did. And this is an adaptation because Lin Manuel Miranda saw this, and I'm sure as the big theater geek that he is, the big theater nerd, the big theater fan, theater kid at heart that he saw this and was like, I want to adapt this. I'm curious as to why he chose this. I want to look into that about why he wanted to do this. Is it because of his adoration for Rent of Jonathan Larson? Because he's really kind of a tragic character, or tragic human. He's not a character, but he's a tragic human being, because especially when you know about his passing the day before Rent opening, which I knew about that. And again, it's just kind of more tragic when you think about how he passed away, which they don't really get into in the movie, but I'll let everyone look into that, because it was a misdiagnosis they could have found out, and he could have operated and saved his life, and he'll never know how big Rent was. So it kind of hits even harder, especially knowing this. Spoiler alert, but that's kind of how it plays out. But they don't really go into his death unless they have like that little sentence at the end. But I think that this was just a well-adapted musical. I don't know how Tick, Tick, Boom, the actual off-Broadway production goes. I completely went in cold turkey. But as someone who enjoys musicals and enjoys kind of like the feel of musicals, I was blown away just by how much I wanted to get up and start dancing, because I knew none of these songs other than what the trailers have showed me. And I just wanted to start, just dancing in my chair. I got, the popcorn already. I watched this morning, and it was just like I'm still in my head, the Turning 30 or 3090. That's one that's been in my head like on repeat.
Senses,
I don't know about you, but
what's the senses something? One of the ones that he had a really hard time writing, and then Jennifer
Come to Your Senses. Oh, that's so good.
She ends up singing, and that was really the height of the film, in my opinion, at this point. Yeah, really, because it really showed how much this man put into his craft and how much he was struggling outside of working on this. His whole life was basically, without spoiling it, was a shambles. I mean, he just couldn't keep a relationship. He was living in a dumpy little apartment. I mean, he was losing his best friend. I mean, it was just like so much the guy was going through to do this, and what was coming out of it was so brilliant. It was just brilliant.
And I think that this movie, I tweeted this out right after I saw it, is that this movie is really starts to commentate and on the idea of that balance between someone's artistry, what they love and their passion, what they love to do, but also the reality of life. Because you cannot throw yourself into your work, into your whole passion, because there's going to be consequences. And the consequences in this case was he lost a relationship. He, almost lost a friend. He was basically barely making ends meet. It was the definition of, when people think of a starving artist, that's kind of what you would think of, is what Jonathan Larson was currently going through. The fact that they shut off his, spoiler alert, they shut off his power ultimately because he kept paying. He wouldn't pay his bills. It's a great commentary upon, because all this time I'm thinking, you are in a very privileged position, sir, to be able to make it and survive. But at the same time, I'm sorry, because all of us were in that situation at the same time. Like, there was a great scene. I won't spoiler alert, because this is a discussion that we're talking about the movie. So full on spoilers right now. There is a great discussion with his friend Michael and himself, where he says that he's like, "Oh, I'm running out of time." And he says, "Are you really running out of time?" Because I think at the end it shows that it doesn't matter how old you are. You can create as many wonderful pieces of art or put your passion out there as long as you draw breath. It doesn't have to be how old you are. And I love that message, because so long, myself included, I'm 26 years old, and I'm thinking, wow, all these people are so successful. Stephen Sondheim did that at that age. Holy cow. But it's like, no, you don't have to be that age. Like, unless you've drawn your last breath, you can still create art and still do what you're passionate about in a way where you can balance the reality of life, but also following your passion and your artistry. And that message is great, because it kind of gives, we're in a way where we both sympathize and both understand, wow, Michael's right. And I think that's a really great message. You don't really see that. It's most like follow your dreams to the very end, but it shows that, well, follow your dreams, but you don't need to give up on them at a certain age. You can find that balance, because some people, spoiler alert, like Michael, don't have that much time left. And it was a really beautiful thing. That's a great message, honestly.
Oh man, was that powerful? I mean, I'm thinking about maybe even Adam Jesus into the best supporting actor race. I mean, after that, I mean, he was so good. But I wanted to tell you, his struggles. Yeah, he's a writer, and he's trying to develop a Broadway play. That's different. But we all have. I mean, a lot of us have these similar. I'm a prime example. I have toiled away for years to achieve what I've been achieving in the last year and a half to 2 years as a film critic here in Orlando, and finally getting in a guild, and then getting FYC screeners, and getting press invites directly to my inbox and stuff like that. I have worked and toiled away for years to get to this point. And guess what? I still struggle financially. I still struggle with my own personal. The house I live in is falling apart. I got an old beater of a car, 20-year-old car. Yeah, I have a job. That is what's keeping me afloat. But my passion, my love of being a film critic, has been so driven that I wanted to keep going. I'm going to fight and claw, and I did. And I'm right now at a point where I'm really successful in my local area as a film critic. And last year, obviously, you kind of invited me into Gone with the Wind and stuff like that. And I really, it's been a blessing for me to be part of this show, But a lot of people are exactly like Jonathan Larson, and they have a passion for something, and they're struggling. And it really, I think a lot of people can relate to this character. And that's what, not only the music is so relatable and entertaining, but the character of Jonathan Larson and the performance by Garfield as this character, of this really a human type character. Everybody can relate to this struggles and whatnot. And you have a career, and you're in the local news and stuff like that, but your school news and stuff like that, but everything's not easy. Everything's not easy for you either. I mean,
oh heavens.
And that's why this character and this, but the way they created this through line of the story and so forth is so relatable to people. Lin Manuel Miranda really put, I think, a lot of himself into this. If you think about it,
I think maybe less he put himself into that, and that maybe that's a commentary upon he was in that same position like Jonathan was. Jonathan Larson is a universal individual. Like, you don't have to be like a playwright or an artist from Broadway or focusing on that. It could be anyone in the arts, because the arts
actor,
is not
singer,
songwriter, as he was, the producer, editor, cinematographer, a grip even.
Yeah,
it's about the idea of follow your dreams, but this is what I really like about the movie, because it's not like this hunky-dory follow your dreams and everything will work out. It didn't work out originally for him, because, spoiler alert, this musical really didn't go anywhere. It was well reviewed, but it didn't go anywhere. And it shows that, hey, you follow your dreams, but don't forget, you're here on this life. You're here on this earth for a long period of time. It doesn't have to end there. You can continue to make art. Just also find that balance as well too, because at the detriment of him, because all this time I wanted to shake Jonathan and be like, Jonathan, you need to talk to her. You need to talk to, what's her name? What's her name? Susan?
Ship?
Was it Susan? No, Susan.
Oh God, let me look her up. I forget her name. I'm
like, talk to her. Just spend 5 minutes to talk to her. He was an obsessed artist. And I know that we've all been there at some point. Like, let me just do this one more thing. I know I'm guilty of that. Even editing these podcasts. I need to do this one more thing. Again,
Susan.
It's Susan. Wow.
Yeah.
How did I remember that?
Good job.
I couldn't remember some things about this movie, but I remembered that. Anyway.
I remember the actors more than I do the character names sometimes.
No, but speaking of the actors, can I just say, like, everyone did phenomenal in this. Like, the way they transformed into their characters, specifically the relationship and the innocence and the sweetness, because you could tell these two characters of Jonathan and Susan loved each other. They cared about each other immensely. It's just, at the end of the day, their lives were not intertwined. At the end of the day, he put his career over her, and it's like, it hurts you.
That happens the other way around too. Where the woman is successful and she's got a career and she's
puts her career above him.
And then said, you know what, honey, sorry, I gotta go. I'm going this way. You're going that way. See you later. And it happens all over the place in every town and every state and every country in America and in the world. I mean, this kind of thing is happening. Once again, a relatable topic in society. There's so much intertwined here that, I mean, you could get behind. If you're a jilted lover, if you're a person looking to create some kind of art and it's not going well, if you're the best friend of whatever. I mean, not in a big role. Bradley Whitfield as Stephen Sondheim was
very good in a small role.
But obviously, we know what happens in the future with Sondheim because they work together on Rent down the road. So he saw something in him in this leading up to all this. Now you're giving me those eyes. Am I wrong?
Yeah, wait, Sondheim.
I thought he helped him with
Sondheim. Did he? Again, I'm
Thought
not
he
a
helped
musical theater buff. I could be very wrong. I don't know. I didn't know if he. Obviously, he's still alive. He was on Stephen Colbert literally like 2 or 3 weeks ago, which is phenomenal at 90 something years old. So good for him.
Yeah,
I don't know if he was.
I believe he saw something.
Consultated, maybe.
Yeah, there's producers, there's directors, there's all kinds of different people that are involved in stage productions, you know. But the thing is, Rent, obviously, we all know it became a huge. It went 12 years.
Yes.
It was on Broadway. Rent was on Broadway for 12 years. How the hell can something be on?
It's no Phantom of the Opera, which has been on since I don't know the dawn of time.
Well, I mean, Phantom of the Opera is great as well. I mean, how can you go wrong there? But Rent really captured a lot of that kind of that New York, those young people and how they were just trying to succeed and get into Broadway and get into the stage and become a singer, become a dancer. That whole kind of people, and they're all just struggling. 3 or 4 people, 5 people living in an apartment, you know, eating bologna sandwiches and stuff.
So I beg the question as well too, because all this was done from a very distinctly beautiful visual style from Lin. We'll call him Lin. We'll just call him Lin. From Lin's style as a director. From a directorial standpoint, how do you think that translated? Because I actually really enjoyed his direction. And again, I preface by saying I have never seen the actual off-Broadway production of Tick, Tick, Boom, so I can't comment upon how it's done there or whatnot. All I can say is what I've seen with my own 2 eyes with this film. And I think he did an excellent job. There were a couple times where I felt like, why was this song needed? I don't know. Like, for instance, the diner one, I'm like, cool, but it didn't progress the story in the slightest, I think, personally, or having that inclusion of, or having where they were having that argument, him and Susan, but also having that song, to me, it took away almost from the actual argument. But at the same time, I loved the song. So my brain's over here trying to do mental gymnastics. I was literally going, you can't see me because this is a video, this is an audio only, but I'm over here just kind of like contemplating my fingers over my temples, thinking like, do I like this? I don't know. I appreciate it. But something like that, where I don't know if that was a directorial choice or if that actually happens in the actual play production. What was your thought on him as a directorial? Because there were some great things that he did from a visual standpoint of him going back and forth with like the actual where they used to live to where, or back when they were looking for apartments, he and Jonathan and Michael, going back and forth with the old and the new. Like, there were some great visual touches that I thought were very distinct and very well done. But how was he overall as a director, you think, Dan?
I'll tell you what, I'm right now looking forward to the next thing he's going to direct, because we've gotten In the Heights, Evan Hansen, we've gotten Annette, and we're getting West Side Story, and we've gotten maybe a musical or two the last 5 or 10 years. You know, maybe 1 musical a year, 2 max. I'll tell you what, the style, it was quick. It kept moving. It wasn't like you got to see what you needed to see, and it moved on to the next thing, whether it be an archival footage, whether it be an older part of his life, or whether it be him on stage singing the production with his group. It kept moving. And I think that kind of quick paced, because this wasn't like a quick hour and a half, hour 45, or I mean, it seemed like the 2-hour mark. Like, this film had a lot to say, but yet it kept moving, and that quick style, that quick moving of the story and the film along really was good, because then you got to the end of it and you're like, oh wow, it's over. And you're like, there was a lot that was going on in this movie, yet it ended relatively quick in my perception. And that's because he has done a production of stage, and he knows he's going to do it quick. It's going to move on quick, move on to the next thing. You can't be dragging. And in between the songs, he put stuff that really mattered, and the time-lapse stuff and the archival stuff. I'm looking forward to what he could do next. I mean, this year's proven all the different things he's involved within the Heights and Canto. This, I mean,
I could totally see him getting a like a first time director DGA nomination. That is something that could absolutely happen. I could see. I don't think
Critics'
he's getting
Choice,
in. Yeah,
indie.
Critics' Choice.
This wouldn't be considered indie now, would it? Because
No, I don't
Netflix?
think it. No, well, it all depends. Like Passing is considered indie, but it's not. It is Netflix.
They bought it.
Netflix bought
Netflix
it. Yeah,
bought
they
it,
bought
yeah.
it. So okay,
This is
so
an original movie for Netflix, I think.
you're right. No, it is. They acquired the rights. So I think this is more. I think honestly, the only place you're going to see him show up is, if anything, first time DGA. Like, you know, like that might be the first time, because we had some great first time directorial like people this year. Like again, great actors turned great directors, and Rebecca Hall from this past year, which I adore. Passing. We'll get into that on the main show, but anyway,
man, beautiful movie.
But no, Tick Tick Boom. I think he has a great distinct visual style. I'm really appreciative of it. He really kind of made this story come to life from a visual and auditory perspective, and I can't wait to see what he does next. Just like how the critics couldn't wait to see what Jonathan does next, I can't wait to see what Lin does next.
Yeah. I mean, he just has this innate ability to create something that's cinematic, whether it's an animated movie or it's a musical. Two different types of musicals, you know, one about his own personal life and one about somebody else's personal life. He just has this ability to create great things, and you know, he's even been on like the show on HBO. You know, God, I can't think of the show. I've watched every episode, and now I can't think of it. You know, he's done a documentary about his father. You know, he's done so much stuff over the years. You know, he's such a philanthropic guy too. You know, he does a lot for various places where he's lived or places that he's from or whatever. So the guy has just got, I mean, talent for days, and it's never going to stop.
We would be remiss if we didn't highlight with the 20 minutes that we have left, Andrew Garfield as Jonathan Larson. I saw on YouTube recommended to me the actual stage performance of Tick Tick Boom that Jonathan Larson did all those years ago, and he actually literally did back in 91, and the opening of 3090 that he actually did. It's uncanny how much Andrew Garfield becomes Jonathan Larson, who I don't really know much about before I saw this, but I believed every single thing that he did, every action, every small thing, every small tick he may have had as like, there's one thing that he did a lot, which was like, if you look back, he looked down a lot and then kind of flashed a smile, go back and look at that. These little small things. Obviously, I don't know what Jonathan actually was, but from what I could see, he not only got those mannerisms down, he was a fully fleshed out character and made you really kind of relate and believe. And the heartache that he was experiencing when he realized he put all his stock into this musical that he forgot everyone else, the heartbreak that he shows in his pursuit and ultimately it coming crashing down, you feel for him. I was like, oh man, I'm going to cry right here, because it shows just the level of layers not only the character had, but what Andrew Garfield gave him. And I think this is brilliant and one of the best lead performances of this year, male or female, one of the best lead performances I have seen. I haven't seen King Richard just yet. I was just telling Dan, I watched 30 minutes before we started this, so don't quote me on the best male performance just yet. But from what I've seen so far, he is phenomenal. What are your thoughts on Andrew Garfield, Dan?
No, I mean, I know it's not part of the performance, but it's kind of funny though. He's got this crazy haircut, and then you see the archival footage, and he's got the same hair as like a little 7, 8, 10-year-old, whatever he is. Like, man, they got the hair right.
Resemblance is great.
Yeah, he was great. He looked like him. I mean, because there was stuff in the credits where they're showing footage in the credits.
Yes, it was.
And,
you're right.
And he looks just like the guy. But I love there's an interview that I read about, or I watched an interview with Lin Manuel Miranda, or was it Garfield, one or the other, and they talked about how Garfield was doing a sound check for the singing and doing the songs and stuff like this, and Miranda wasn't supposed to be anywhere near, but he kind of snuck in the back, and he's singing these songs, and he's like, oh my God, this guy is good, and he runs up to him and he says, oh my God, we got, so I don't have to recast. We got a great actor. We don't have to recast.
Huh.
And it was like this adulation from Miranda that he didn't have to recast. He had the guy that was going to play this character. And we saw that guy on screen and he just blows us away. I mean, we thought he could be in the best actor category, but we didn't have him in until now. We had Peter Dinklage. We haven't seen Cyrano. Benedict Cumberbatch. We haven't seen Power of the Dog. And I, of course, have seen King Richard. You got about half hour into the movie so far. And I can sit here and honestly say, he definitely is going to be in the 5. Now you have to say...
Confidently. You say that confidently.
Garfield is in the 5 now. Now you're dealing with one spot left. Who gets that final spot? If those 4 make the 5, who gets that final spot? And it's going to be a cutthroat. I mean, both the male best actor and best female actress are amazing. I mean, we came off, and I'm not knocking last year at all. I am not knocking it. But there wasn't nearly this many contenders in these categories as there was last year. Even, I love Carey Mulligan. I love Frances McDormand. But I'm thinking to myself, would they even be nominated this year? Either one of those performances. And that's a tough question to ask. But we don't have to worry about that because they came out last year and they both did great last year and Francis won last year, and that's all that matters.
That was a race. Whew.
So we're dealing with this year, and Garfield, look at the people. Benedict Cumberbatch, Peter Dinklage, Will Smith, Andrew Garfield, possibly a Joaquin Phoenix maybe. You don't know. What a 5 that would be, right?
Mm-hmm.
What a 5 if that's the 5.
And listen, best actor, you
or
look
maybe
back,
Javier Bardem. Maybe a Javier Bardem
maybe.
in there.
There's honestly a lot of actors you could pull from for that actual, for best actor. There's a lot of actors you can actually pull from, which will lead us into the discussion of. Actually, let's get into it now because we're only have 15 minutes left, and I think we should. I need at least a few minutes to send in the link, but the Oscar chances for Tick, Tick, Boom. This is where I'm very upset at Netflix. I don't know if the movie wasn't done. Why did they wait 2 weeks before? No, they waited a week before it went to select theaters, and then 2 weeks before it went on Netflix. Why did they not campaign? Because this got rapturous reviews. This was well liked by audiences right now, as well as critics. Why did they not push this along with a Power of the Dog or The Lost Daughter? Did they not? Because Netflix is one of those companies, unlike some maybe independent or not independent, but other production houses like Sony Pictures Classics or Focus Features that will have 1 or 2 and push them in comparison to Netflix, which will have a lot and they will push. Do you think it's solely based upon the fact of they've had in the past where it's bit them in the butt, where they've tried to do too many and they realize, okay, we have to focus on 1, maybe 2, which in this case, Lost Daughter and which has gotten a lot of screenings with Maggie Gyllenhaal, another possible first-time director nominee at DGA, and then The Power of the Dog. Is it because of those 2 are out and they're focusing on campaigning those and because if you have a lead actress for Olivia Colman, a lead actor for Benedict Cumberbatch in their respective films, they can split those. Do you think they just didn't do that because it's already a super crowded field and maybe if something happened, it would just be based upon the quality of the film for Tick, Tick, Boom and all?
No, I think this is what's going on. They wanted to see the reaction. They wanted to see the reaction from the theaters, obviously the AFI, then the theaters, how many people were going out to see it, getting their 2-week window, their qualifying window in, which now they have their qualifying window, which is 2 weeks in New York and LA, and then see how popular it is on Netflix, how many people are watching their, I don't know what they call them, their analytics, and see I think it's number 4 as of this moment on Netflix top 10 lists. But that's going to keep going up. The more the word gets out that this is a great movie, but it's also one of the best performances of the year. Then they're going to say, okay, whoop, Tick, Tick, Boom, we got to circle some of the stuff. original songs. If there's any original songs, I don't know.
I'll check. I'll check while you're talking.
I think there's one original. No, that's never mind. Licorice Pizza's got an original song. My bad.
Like Dear Evan Hansen, I think has an original song they added, but I don't think they did that for Tick Tick Boom. But again, I'm about to check right now.
Yeah. So there's some great production value here. There's great direction here. Yeah. There's great writing here. I mean, the writing is off the chain, because how do they keep all this kind of moving forward? I mean, it's and making it make sense, where I thought the writing was really good. I mean, there was so much dialogue. There's so much dialogue from Jonathan Larson, his friends, his girlfriend, and it's like, how do you keep all this? The script has got to be tight. I mean, tight for this to work like this, and I mean, those are the chances. But I mean, the one that they have got to circle is Garfield. I mean, you can't ignore Garfield if you're Netflix and if you're going to be doing the campaigning.
No, agreed. Well, actually, what I was about to say, two things that I just found out from reading this, is that in July 2018, Lin Manuel Miranda would make his directorial debut with this musical adaptation with Imagine Entertainment and Julie O producing. So Netflix didn't acquire it until June 2019. So it's not a Netflix production. They're just distributing it.
Imagine.
So, I don't know what Imagine Entertainment.
That's Ron Howard and Brian Grazer.
Oh my goodness, you're right. Wow, I didn't realize that was the case. Yep. So depending on how big the budget is, it probably might be big, so it may not be independent. We may see it show up. I don't know, but it all depends on how big the budget is. But two is that it was written by Stephen Levinson, who did Dear Evan Hansen.
Whoa,
so yeah,
turn of events there.
I agreed. It's very interesting to see that turn of events, because Dear Evan Hansen was not well received, shall we say?
No, not at all. And the other thing is, Netflix could be going after De Jesus and supporting Ship and supporting. Those are some people they could look at for Tick Tick Boom as well.
Okay, well, and also, to clarify as well too, is that he only did the Dear Evan Hansen musical. He didn't do the film adaptation, it looks like. So never mind then. Yeah, no, he did not. Oh nope, he did do the musical version. Wow, he did the movie version. So he did Tick Tick Boom and Dear Evan Hansen in one day. Wow, look, talk about a difference in quality.
Oh yeah, I mean, amazing quality. I mean
yeah.
the quality and the script is amazing. I mean, now would this be adapted, do you believe, or
yes.
original?
This is adapted because they are, from what I'm guessing, they are adapting from the musical Tick Tick Boom, taking liberties from what I'm seeing, but they are adapting.
And did he write a book? Was there a book about this or no? Was there a book written about this?
I think it's based off the. I think it's based off the off-Broadway production, but I could be wrong.
All right, you're probably. I'm thinking about. So I got so many things running through my mind about what movies are doing, because I'm writing.
Trust me, I feel that.
I'm writing so much right now, so it's just. But no, yeah, I mean, you can't ignore Garfield if you're Netflix. You just can't do it. And if you look, I haven't seen Power of the Dog. You haven't seen Power of the Dog.
Not yet.
If Netflix has Power of the Dog come out and it doesn't get the reception that we all think it's going to get, maybe they jump on the Garfield train.
Well, see, the critics are already loving the Power of the Dog, and while the audiences may not gravitate toward it, I can totally see them still. I think the Power of the Dog at this point is with Jane Campion. I think it's absolutely going to hit, regardless, even if audiences don't gravitate toward it, because critics love it so much. I think honestly, its best day for Tick Tick Boom is 4. That's it. Just 4 Oscars is its best day. Picture, sound. Okay, 5. Excuse me, 5. Picture, sound, screenplay, actor, and then supporting actor. I don't know how else because it's cool as the cinematography is. I don't see it breaking an already crowded field. Editing, fine. Really good, actually, in some really parts. Great visual gags, but not going to
Very good editing. Very good editing.
Yeah, very good editing. The screenplay, there would be a great adaptation. I don't think adapted is still a very interesting field right now, shall we say? So it could move its way in if they like it, and picture it could make that 10 easily if West Side Story doesn't hit. I don't think they're going to go for both, mainly because that 2 musicals in 1 year. When's the last time that happened?
We have 5 this year, and we're going to probably remember way back 21. When we were talking how many musicals can we get in, and now we're talking we're like scratching if we're going to get 1 musical.
Yes, it all depends on how West Side Story goes.
But the one thing I love about this year is how many real people have we been getting? I mean, this is ridiculous. The real people that we're getting movies about, and they're all great. It's not, they're not like a bunch of bombs or nothing. Like everyone, now we're hearing Being the Ricardos is incredible.
Yeah, which is fascinating because we'll talk about this in the episode. Like Tick Tick Boom, excuse me. Don't Look Up, better, I guess, than I expected it to be. But again, we'll get into that.
Looks good. Adam McKay, I can't wait. I got it next 29, 2 Tuesdays from now.
2 Tuesdays from now. So and I think at its core, the most likely and assured nomination to me is, you're right, I think Garfield is a lock at this point. There is a world where he misses, of course, if it loses steam, Tick Tick Boom, if the conversation doesn't continue and they keep championing him. Netflix needs to do some pushing. Right now, if you look at their YouTube channel and their like social medias, they are all on board Tick Tick Boom right now, but also it's the week it came out, so I know why. So they're really, trying to make sure people see it. But at the same time, I think that if they continue that conversation and it's in the cultural zeitgeist, Garfield's almost assured nomination. I had a discussion with someone else in the sphere, Jacob London, who loved the film, but he doesn't think because Netflix has dropped the ball in the past, which I could understand because Netflix has had a shoddy record. But at the same time, look at something like Roma. Roma got an unknown actor and a supporting actress because they pushed that. I still believe at the end of the day that they're going to get in. Power of the Dog's going to make it in regardless. It's in, and I think Cumberbatch is already in. I'm almost certain that Garfield will make it based upon just how critical acclaim that he is getting in particular, not just the movie, but Garfield is getting, as long as, that it continues to be in the cultural zeitgeist, as long as people keep talking about it, as long as people show it, as long as there's Academy screenings, SAG screenings, craft screenings from the different guilds, it can make its way, because as long as they keep talking about it, his performance, it's there. It's that good. Like,
it's that good, but there's so much about the film is that good.
Yes.
And it's, you look at his performance and you're like, man, this guy's incredible. But everything around him, the editing, like you said, the sound, the supporting work by people, the direction. I mean, we had this on our kind of periphery of a film that could be in, but until we kind of had a chance to see it and the word of mouth got out and everybody was like, oh my God. And then both of us, me and you, were just blown away by this movie and everything about it. So this is definitely a very good shot at multiple award nominations. And I mean, I would not be upset if Garfield won, but I got my eggs in a basket for Will Smith.
Yeah, no, I think at this point we all have our eggs in the basket, but I would not be, upset if Garfield came out on top, because it's a great performance. And do we think he's number 2 at this point, or is he like number 3 still behind Cumberbatch?
Yeah, because I'm seeing Cyrano Tuesday, and I'll tell you what my 4 is going to be next week on the show. How about that? Well, I'm not going to see Benedict Cumberbatch, but
well, if you do, let me know. But yeah, we're going to have to wrap it up now because it is almost time to actually get on the podcast, the actual podcast, not just our review. So we're going to wrap up. Dan, your final thoughts on Tick Tick Boom.
What a great film. Of all the musicals that came out this year, I didn't think this was going to turn out to be the best one. We haven't seen West Side Story yet, but as of right now, this is my favorite musical of the year.
Agreed.
Definitely one of my favorite films of the year.
And you can
Andrew Garfield's great.
Yes, and as you can hear by our rush tone, we're wrapping it up because we got to start the next episode in 2 minutes because I got an hour before I got to go film Sting. Yes, you guys heard it right. I'm going to go film Sting. Discussion, I'll talk about that later. And I think Tick Tick Boom is a beautiful directorial debut by Lin Manuel Miranda. It's not a perfect film, but it's so good. It is so fantastic, an emotional powerhouse of a film. I called it an emotional wrecking ball, because that's what it is at the end of the day. It wears his heart upon its sleeve, and Garfield leads the ship beautifully into its like this emotional harbor of just all these good feelings. It makes you feel everything. And I love movies that make you feel. Passing, as I saw, made you think. And it did make you feel to a different extent. But this one is one that kind of lays all its emotion bare. It's not introspective. It's very explosive and out there. Very reminiscent of musical theater to an extent. And I think he adapted this beautifully. Stephen Levinson, I can't remember exactly his name, but he adapted it. Yeah, great adaptation. I loved it. The actors are great. Garfield, chef's kiss. But yeah, you can, Dan, where can they find you real fast?
You can find me at disappointmentmedia.com, where I write for a local website here in Orlando, and my blog from the fourth row.wordpress.com, or Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter. My name, Dan Skipbound, DP Skipbound, something like that.
Something like that. And you can find me on Twitter at Cine_man. That's CINE_MANN, as well as here hosting Gone with the Wind and Contender reviews when I can make it. I won't be able to make it through all of them, but if we cannot, Dan or Malcolm will take over for ones that I cannot make for certain movies, because I have a full-time job and a part-time job, slightly. Gig work, regardless. And you can find me also on WFMY News 2, where I host once a week the News 2 reviews. This past week was Passing. You can check that out on our YouTube channel, WFMY News 2. And again, thank you guys for joining us for Contender Reviews. This has been Tick, Tick, Boom. So, tick, tick, tick.